I had just poured myself a mug of coffee black, strong, the way I like it, and stepped outside to enjoy the early morning sun when I heard it. This horrible metallic screech, like something was being torn apart. I froze, trying to place the sound, and that's when I saw hair in my roof. Not a contractor, not a city worker, not even someone who looked like she belonged there. No, it was Gretchen. Gretchen Mallory, the vice president of our HOA. In yoga pants and gardening gloves, standing like some deranged suburban warlord with a crowbar in one hand and one of my solar panels dangling from the other. My jaw hit the porch. I didn't even have time to react before she actually screamed, "Today we take back our neighborhood from these eyesores." Then she ripped off another panel like she was unwrapping some cursed Christmas gift. I dropped my coffee right then. Ceramic shattered. I bolted across the lawn yelling, "Gretchen, what the hell are you doing? Those panels are federally tagged. You're literally committing a felony." And I meant it not in an exaggerated, neighborly dispute kind of way. These weren't regular off-the-shelf solar panels. They were part of a Department of Energy pilot program I was selected for thanks to my past work in energy analytics. Each one was tracked, encrypted, and legally protected. But Gretchen didn't care about that. She didn't care about permits or the law or the fact that I'd shown her the documentation months ago. To her, my roof didn't match the beige conformity she worshipped. It was all about uniformity. It was about power. And in her eyes, my solar panels were a threat. Looking back, I should have known this was coming. It didn't start on the roof. It started in the meeting's passive-aggressive digs about how my house looked like a tech startup, about how the panels blinded drivers, even though they faced away from the street. Then came the emails, first from the HOA, then directly from Gretchen. She claimed the panels violated aesthetic guidelines. I responded with my exemption papers. She fired back with a notice about pending fines. At the next meeting, she held up an aerial photo of my roof like it was proof of a crime. I brought two neighbors who spoke in favor of the panels, saying how they'd come in handy during a recent storm when the power went out. Gretchen ignored them, brushed off their comments like they were noise. She didn't want discussion, she wanted obedience. She didn't wait for a vote. She didn't wait for legal steps. She took it into her own hands, or rather, up her own ladder. By the time I got back out with my phone to call 911, Gretchen had two guys helping her, hired muscle in paint-stained cargo shorts, clearly not professionals. They were struggling to unbolt the inverter as I recorded everything, my hands trembling. When the police arrived, Gretchen was in mid-argument with one of them about the best way to remove government wires. One officer asked, "Ma'am, do you have any legal authorization to do this?" And Gretchen, smiling, proud, replied, "The HOA has spoken. We're restoring visual order." I shoved my federal clearance papers at the officer and said, "She's dismantling federal property. These aren't just solar panels. There are encrypted systems. There's GPS tracking. This is serious." The officers started taking it more seriously, especially when one of them noticed a scorched corner on a battery pack. Improper disconnection. It could have exploded. That's when the tone shifted. Officer Vega called in a supervisor. And Gretchen? She started to sweat. "It was just one panel," she said. "Maybe two," as if that somehow made it okay. They told her to leave the property. She muttered something about calling her lawyer and stomped off like she was the victim here. What she didn't know was that by 6 p.m., black SUVs would be parked outside my home Department of Energy Enforcement. I emailed my contact at the DOE, sent them everything: video, photos, even the names of the contractors. What Gretchen had done wasn't just petty. It was a national security breach. Because those panels weren't just collecting sunlight, they were running encrypted simulations, part of a test for detecting energy siphoning from national grids. Dummy infrastructure hiding real data. And she had just blown it open with a crowbar. The next day, a man named Durant showed up. DOE agent. Quiet, sharp-eyed, the kind of guy who doesn't need to flash a badge to be taken seriously. He reviewed the footage, the wreckage, my permit stack. Then he said, "This isn't just vandalism. This is interference with classified equipment. We're escalating." Gretchen had no idea what she triggered. But instead of laying low, she doubled down. That night, flyers appeared on every doorstep, bold letters. "Unauthorized solar equipment threatens property values." It had a son wearing sunglasses, clip art from the early 2000s. No signature, but it screamed Gretchen. I laughed honestly. I wasn't even angry, just stunned at how deep her delusion ran. But the real twist came the next day. The DOE returned, this time with scanning gear and laptops. They ran diagnostics, recovered damaged data nodes, tracked power surges. It felt like a sci-fi movie playing out on my lawn. Meanwhile, Gretchen was hiding behind her blinds, but I knew she was watching. Then one night, my backup system tripped. All the lights flickered. We ran outside and there it was. The wiring to my secondary battery pack had been cut. Not clean. Slashed. Like someone used garden shears. Durant knelt by the wires, examining the shredded insulation. "This is deliberate," he said. Forensics took samples. They found a muddy footprint near the gate and it matched a pair of orthopedic sandals Gretchen had been wearing in her livestream 2 days earlier. That was the final nail. The next day, Durant returned with a file. 5 formal charges: federal, interference, destruction of research technology, obstruction, and more. And Karen? She decided to fight back the only way she knew how, by suing me. Yep. She filed a restraining order claiming I installed the solar panels to spy on her family, that I inflicted emotional distress through sunlight exposure, and me personal favorite that I was possibly mining cryptocurrency with government lasers. Her lawyer? A guy named Craig who operated out of a vape shop next to a gas station. We brought all that to court. The judge, silver hair, glasses on a chain, looked over the case and said, "Miss Mallory, do you understand the charges?" Gretchen started rambling about HOA tyranny and deep state solar networks. The judge cut her off cold. "This is federal court, not a neighborhood meeting." Durant presented everything: footage, permits, expert reports, the footprint analysis. And then the bombshell. During the time of the sabotage, the DOE system had been simulating a grid stress scenario. Gretchen's destruction caused a data spike that triggered a false emergency alert across the test region. The judge's face hardened. "Ignorance," she said, "is not a defense." The restraining order she filed? Dismissed. She was banned from contacting me, banned from HOA leadership, and sentenced to community service and environmental education. You heard me. Her badge now says, "Ask me about solar panels." I wish I were making that up. But the best part? The DOE didn't just repair my system. They upgraded it. Installed a solar skin array that matched my shingles, plus a new interface and display panel for public tours. I became a pilot site complete with ground sensors and satellite uplink. A month later, we held Solar Resilience Day. There were food trucks, solar demos, families, kids. Even the mayor showed up. And then, across the street, she appeared. Gretchen. No clipboard. No speech. Just jeans and a sweater, hair tied back. She walked over slowly, looked around, and said quietly, "I just wanted to see what all the damage was really for." I didn't gloat, didn't smirk, just pointed at the display and said, "This. Energy independence. Real-time resilience. A future you try to tear down." She didn't say anything, just stared at the screen for a while, then turned and walked back across the street without a word. She hasn't bothered me since. Her house is quiet now. No more signs. No more flyers. Just silence. And maybe that's the lesson. Because in the end, this wasn't about solar panels. It was about control. About one woman's fear of change. About how far someone will go when they think rules matter more than reality. But here's what I want to ask you. Do you think HOA boards should have the power to override federal projects? Should fear of aesthetics outweigh science, law, or progress? Let me know in the comments. Share your thoughts. I know I'm not the only one with a story like this. And if you've ever dealt with a Gretchen of your own, I'd love to hear it. Because sometimes the only way to shine light on ignorance is with a solar panel and a crowbar-shaped memory.